Welcome back, everyone. Now we've come to the final program of the day, and that is the Business Leaders session. We've invited 6 prominent figures in business and academia to discuss how business leaders can design actions to address the social challenges we face today. Our moderator is President Fujitaro of the University of Tokyo. So, President Fuji, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Yamamoto-san. Welcome to the Business Leaders session. And this year, we are discussing on the theme, which is designing a new solution for societal and environmental challenges. And at its core, I believe every leader and entrepreneur is inherently a designer and who craft strategies and innovations to enhance the value of their enterprises. But at the same time, so we like to think about this social impact or contribution to the social good. And of course, we need to take care of these environmental issues for our globe, on Earth. So today, I'd like to really broaden the scope of this conversation to explore how we can design solutions, not only to elevate corporate value, but also to enrich the value of society and also for the value for the planet as a whole. So in the first part here, I'd like to have some words from Chairman CHEY on the corporate's viewpoint towards social challenges, and then open up the discussion over the speakers. But before to do that, I would like to introduce our panelists here. So first of all, Chairman CHEY Tae-won, who's the chairman of the Korean Chamber of Commerce and Industry and chairman of SK Group, as you know. And Mr. Daniel NOWACK, head Social Innovation, World Economic Forum and Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship. And Mr. Masataka, founder and CEO, Japan Fundraising Association. And Professor Aya Suzuki, she's a special advisor to the President for Promotion of Social Entrepreneurship and professor at the Department of International Studies, Graduate School of Frontier Sciences, UTokyo. And Mr. SATO Yasuhiro, senior advisor of Mizuho Financial Group. Well, so let's get started, Chairman CHEY. And I'd like to have your words around your thoughts on these corporate or imperatives of corporate social innovation.
Yes, thank you, President Fuji. I don't know how to start, but I come up with some concept called what I call is SPC, the Social Progress Credit. It's kind of a long journey to get there. So, let me share my story about how I just start with that. Come up with that. In a corporate side, or how we can actually approach it to the social value. Well, about more than 15 years ago, so people just perceived that at that time that we just used the concept of the corporate social responsibility, CSR. So even my company spent some of the dollar. Actually, I remember that almost $200 million per year for that social, so-called CSR. There are so many different type of programs. But someday, as a chairman, I think that that's a natural thing, and we have to do it. So it's a kind of imperative things. Yeah. But I noticed that there is some problem. So if I my company has decided to investment about $200 million per year. Then we have a lot of things going on with this, because there's a lot of debate and how we can actually measure for that the outcomes and how should we continue to do it and whatever it is that there is probably a lot of things. But with the CSR, the package, there is not much challenge. And I discussed with the team of the CSR activities in various companies. So how are you going to spend that dollar, and what is the outcome? And what they really do is that they really focus on the media things. What they never actually come up with some value things. So only for the media coverage. So if I spend some dollars, then people just perceive that how many articles to relate with those CSR activity, whether how big is coverage. Well, we do have a lot of partners, NGOs and social enterprise companies. But well, the selection of our partner is almost similar. So if there is some trend for that, the environmental things, and we just go for that environmental, this dollar spending has been increased. So I noticed that, what is real problem and how we can create the real value to the society. Number one things I come up with this, we don't have any measurement. If we spend that dollar, and if we really chasing that economic value, then we calculate everything before we decide any kind of dollar commitment. So I think that whatever it is that we need some kind of measurement, but it's a real challenge for us. Well, I spent a lot of time struggling with this, but I come up with what I call is a double bottom line things. So company has to have some bottom line more in the P&L. But I checked that we not really create the economic value or the financial value itself. Also, we created some of the social value too. We have to measure it, and I need to have some accounting systems to develop that. Otherwise, nobody really control how much dollar, why we spending that much money. So there is no reason for that. So in order to make the better value, so we need some calculation system, and that what I call is a measurement. So I developed the social value measurement system, which is the accounting system right now. So my company has to actually announce annually to how much created the social value. There is some negative concept even. So how much we destroy that social value to in order to create our financial value. It's mostly the environmental matter. So we actually had a lot of pollutions. We used it using a lot of plastic and emission, the CO2, all those things, and we have to calculate. Otherwise, we cannot find the optimal value and how much we can actually create for the economic value and how much we destroy the social value too. So in order to shrink down that negative social value, we have to invest certain things to our company, and less emissions, less plastic, and saving energies, all those things, and we have to have some kind of progress. So I think that this is a kind of progress, but it's not enough. Even though we introduce all those things, and using that as the KPI, which is that performance measurement for each team or the individual. I even put it in the social value category for that KPI. So people just doing that. But they never, even though we made it those kind of systems, it's not really enough. Why? It's about design things. When you say design, as we actually put it in a lot of our brain engagement for that. But there is not much incentives for that real brain engagement for the designing, how we can actually save that social value or create social value itself. So I come up with that some new idea for how we can actually create that incentives. So it's I already mentioned about our system failure. So we need to have a new design for our capitalism. So capitalism is simple. Yeah, you have created some economic value, financial value, and then, amount of your value, you have to actually portionally you pay the tax. And you collected the tax, and the government just collected the tax, and using that, solving that social problem. It could be not only social value, but the broad view, then the whole social value. But as modern society, government cannot handle that all those social problems by themselves. So we need some more the problem solver in our society. Otherwise, there is only one organization handle that whole social problem. Well, there is NGOs and a lot of other problem solvers. But do they actually have that? What incentive we really give them? Well, we just rely on their goodwill. So we might need some other incentive systems. That's why I come up with the idea for the social progress credit. If you do good things to the society, and society has that some kind of reward to them. It could be the more monetary reward or the non-monetary reward, whatever it is that we have to actually give them. That's how actually the incentive system works. That's actually the capitalism. So what I really wanted to, we have to come up with some new system. What I really call is a negative tax system. So if you do some government job, then it's a kind of negative tax. Instead of the collecting tax, if you do create some social value, then why don't you pay them? So that's a kind of new incentive system. So that's actually that's a concept. It's just a hypothesis. So as it really works, I don't know. So 9 years ago, I decided to, let's just have some kind of experimental things. So I designed for the kind of new systems. So I announced that there was some of the social enterprise companies, social entrepreneurs. So we have to measure your social value performance annually. So there's a new accounting system. I put it in, and if you created a certain value of the social, the progress credit or the social value, then I'll give you the cash. So I did that this experiment in more than 9 years. So I come up with some kind of conclusion, and next year is a 10-year anniversary, so I'm prepared that all the report and research things, and what is actually real incentive for the society. So how we can actually design for in the future. I probably yes. My story is there. So,
okay, so that is,
if you had another question, then we'll discuss more.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a really interesting story around this social progress credits,
Thank you.
right? And then, so Chairman shared this insight about SPC, and then how important it is to develop this kind of incentive system to promote these social activities, and taken by also the enterprises, and run this system to be able to promote these social entrepreneurs activities. But then I like to also ask a little bit about global scope, so that also before to that, maybe you want to elaborate a little bit about SPC's mechanism before to go over to other options or other cases.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, in a past history, so I don't think this is really new inventions. In old days, we cannot really measure that all those social somethings. Well, if you current that the corporate accounting system 100 years ago, so we don't have that accurate things. So we developed annually. Well, we put it in a lot of effort. Then current system is well, it takes more than I think that's more than 400 years to be here. Mm-hmm. So it's a kind of challenge how we can actually measure that social things, yeah. But that's a kind of necessity in these days. So it's possible to using the technology, the digital technology. Mm-hmm. So I think this challenge comes from that redefine that the market itself. We just, I studied in economics, and economics 101 is there is a market, and there is a supply and demand, and when you supply curve and demand curve met, that's the price. But is it real world? I don't really think so. As imaginary things, as a market system, as a kind of imaginary matters, it's a kind of theory. The real world is not really has that kind of market. If you go to market, there is even a similar product has various the price mechanism. So these days, I'm challenging that using our digital the technology. We have to actually define that every specify that the customer. You can do it easily these days. So we have to offer them to the individual offering to different customer, different offering. Price differently, packaging differently. So even we created some social value. It's a kind of, if you are the customer, and some of the company really cares about our environment, then if it's the same price, whether even the higher price, I'm going to buy that things. That's a kind of preference, and their value system is different. So in order to get there, so we have to don't just think that there is a market system. So if you wanted to have some kind of a transaction, then each transaction has to focus on the customer itself. Then you will realize that what is not only just the economic value, and I have to actually give them to have some kind of a social value together. So this is not the new invention. I don't think so, but was a kind of new system for if you had some new design for the incentive things, and we can easily solve that using the capitalism mechanism. So that's. Well, there is much more, but well, I probably had to stop here. And
okay,
somebody
okay.
else probably
Okay,
had
thank you
that
so
different
But
opinions.
yeah, I was gonna ask that. So that this is a credit, so that you could also, I mean,
Yes.
trading this, right?
Yes.
If this monetary
I
value
used
is
that
fixed.
actually the cash,
Yeah.
but it could be that there was some tax credit or the if there's some transferable the credit, then it's a market value. Then there probably there is some trading price for that this credit, and you can actually bargaining with
Right.
it. You can actually have that you own the credit, or I can actually sell to the something. So like the CO2 emission market. So you can have that you own credit, and it could be that there's some financial value. So we can create it even tradable market in the future. So that's another concept. Yes.
Yeah. So okay. So then I also would like to. Then I would like to ask Mr. Nowak on the global picture on those. I mean, new types of incentive systems and what other, for example, corporates, global companies are doing these kind of things.
Happy to give an overview of that, but let me congratulate Chairman Chey first for this visionary leadership and actually designing a system that values social and environmental impact. About a year ago, we started working with a group of over 100 organizations together with the SK Group team. And these organizations included major banks, development organizations, development finance banks, public sector actors, but also intermediaries, foundations, etc., to work on a scenario where we can scale this idea of the SPC and other mechanisms globally, because we truly think that these mechanisms are really needed to be adopted by many, many companies, and starting with a few leading companies like SK Group. So congratulations for taking that first step. And all 100 organizations were incredibly impressed by already the progress being made, right? Because I think in a humble way, Chairman Chey didn't want to share the scale of it already, because it's $52 million paid out to social entrepreneurs in Korea alone, right? So I think that's a significant scale and proof of concept for such a model, which can be taken to other sectors as well. And we truly believe that valuing, monetizing, and incentivizing impact is the key for our future, because as was said multiple times today, is that the foundations of capitalism at the moment are eroding, because the foundations are a healthy planet and a thriving society. But at the moment, that is at risk. And it's at risk to some extent. It's similar to the discussion we've heard today about AI. If you train AI on biased data, your outputs are biased. Well, our global economy has been trained on biased data on profits only. And what the outcomes are profits in an exploitative way. So it is indeed time for an upgrade to capitalism to include ways to reflect the interests of all stakeholders, including the planet, and yes, leveraging mechanisms to actually incentivize and monetize these activities is the easiest way if we're applying market logic. And that's what we're currently working with. That's currently what we've seen a lot of progress over the last couple of decades through market logic. It's just a question of how can we upgrade that to better fit our current needs and support. So I also wanted to recognize the Tokyo University and the CHEY Institute for picking such a timely topic today, as it really is an inflection point, and I'll share a bit more of why we think it's a good point in time that we're talking about this. But coming back to your question, what are other companies doing? I think taking us back a few years ago when the World Economic Forum started the Schwab Foundation in 1998, the concept of social innovation was very nascent. It was a couple of social entrepreneurs in the world that were really using business means to address social problems. Today, that has significantly changed. We have about 10 million social entrepreneurs in the world. These 10 million social entrepreneurs generate 200 million jobs, which is about 6% of the global workforce. And they generate $2 trillion in annual revenues, which is bigger than the fashion industry. So in addition to being the impact force that we know it is also quite the economic force now in the world. And to come back to the panel earlier, it is also 50% women-led compared to 20% women leadership in conventional businesses. So in so many ways, social innovators, social entrepreneurs are really leading the way to transform our societies, and it's something that we need to recognize and support. Gladly, companies have more and more integrated social innovation into their businesses as well, which is why we started about 5 years ago to recognize companies and corporate social innovators for their work internally. And it's moved now from CSR, as Chairman CHEY mentioned, to really a business capability. It's making companies prepared for the future. Earlier this year, we've released a Corporate Social Innovation Compass, which is a compendium of different ways that companies engage in social innovation today. It also highlights 11 mechanisms for doing that and 5 key benefits, such as innovation potential, access to markets, sustainability goals, employer and customer branding, but also financial results. And just to mention a few examples so it becomes maybe a bit more concrete, one of the innovators we recognized is Garance Vates-Richard, who leads AXA's emerging customer division. AXA is a global insurer, and she has been developing a division that serves customers in low and middle income countries with very affordable insurance. It's about 14 million customers around the world with insurance premiums of at least $5 to $20 a year on healthcare, on household insurance, on agricultural insurance. And that's bringing in $300 million in revenues for AXA. So it's not a small business unit, but most importantly, it's preparing the company to address new markets in a different way. For example, also innovating around know your customer requirements, KYC requirements, and preparing it for the new middle class in many, many countries. Or Prabhat is an initiative by Unilever in India that's working with millions of people around its value chains. And it's measured its social return on investments, which is also the basis for the social progress credit, and shown that its return on investment was $15 to every dollar that it invested into its communities to make the supply chain more resilient. They haven't yet actually paid out funding, but I think it would be very interesting to introduce them to the SPC. And an example from Mexico is that actually then uses funding a bit more structurally is Pepsi, which has been working with the IFC to pay its suppliers based on the impact that they're creating and the way that they're lifting people out of forced labor or child labor. So these things are slowly emerging, but we need leaders around the world to really showcase why that is relevant. Because I think also macroeconomically, we see that some of the policy tools we're deploying are regulation, are exclusion criteria for investments, and in some cases, pricing externalities as a cost. That's helpful, that's important, but what it also does, it drives climate and sustainability inflation, because it makes things more expensive. And it's just only one tool, and we have to think about incentive mechanisms on the other side as well that add to the trajectory. So we do think that tradable impact is possible, and we should start looking at different scenarios and ways of doing that. As part of our work, we've also highlighted other mechanisms like the SPC, the SINC, the social impact bonds. It's a growing market. We find that it's now a $185 billion market. Compared that to the voluntary carbon credits, they are $2 billion. So it's already a sizable market segment. It's no longer just nascent. But it's also encouraging to see that we might get to a point where impact becomes a tradable commodity. Think about the time when oil was discovered. It was used for bitumen or to pave roads. It wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that oil actually became a useful and highly valuable commodity. So as we're entering into a new stage of our economy, the 21st century, we have to think about what happens if AI might be replacing most of the jobs, if robotics is adding different levels of productivity. So we might actually entering an impact economy where impact becomes the new commodity that oil today is. So it's quite encouraging. We see a couple of developments around that already. The global common good marketplace, Outcomes X, are already trading impact. So we are seeing the early signs of it. But I think to close and to just put it in the words of a great person I got to work with in the past, Muhammad Yunus, one of the fathers of microfinance. He said, it's time that we think beyond science fiction. We've talked a lot about technology, a lot about science fiction. It is the age when we have to talk about social fiction, and that includes tools like the SPC and tradable impact.
Well, thank you so much. So it seems there's already a kind of emerging examples of this, social value thing. And then it seems it's so important to, connect them, together in a kind of systemic way, as Chairman Chey mentioned. So that I also would like to open this discussion over to the other speakers. And first of all, Mr. Uo, or Masataka, so he's also, as I heard, implementing the SPC type of system here in Japan. So that, can you give us some thoughts?
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to add the Japanese flavor of this kind of discussion a little bit. And first of all, I would like to say a special thank you to Chey. Thank you very much for your great leadership. I'm so much excited to hear the background story and the passion of creating SPC model. Because, as you said, from last year we launched Japanese version of SPC model together with the CSES, founded by SK Group. So before touching this a little bit about the story of this SPC model, I'd like to share what's happening in Japan. And a good news and bad news. A good news first. A good news is Japan impact investment market grows significantly over the last several years. And definition-wise, impact investment is a financial investment to businesses with intention to create social, measurable impact alongside with financial return. So we see double impact. We expect social return and financial return through this investment. And it is increasing significantly over the last several years, which is great, good news. But bad news is we haven't seen enough social innovation and true impact on the ground level with this impact investment. And it hasn't reached to the social entrepreneurs at the early stage. So we need to change this trend. In my understanding, it's kind of that we create the first stage of this game, but we are now entering to the second stage. As you see, it's great to see that its impact investment has reached to 11 trillion yen, which is 70 billion US dollars, but still, we need to advance more. And in order to do this, I think the first priority thing is blended finance for true impact. And blended finance means that we need to harmonize the effort of impact investors and impact philanthropists. We need to ask them to work together. Financial investment and grant needs to work together to support social businesses and enterprises. And SPC model is a great example of blended financing. And telling the truth, 6 years ago, I truly wanted to make outcome-based funding model in Japan. I talked to many grant-making foundations and the government, but no one wanted to start outcome-based funding model because they have never seen the success cases in Japan yet. So I was lucky to have a chance to communicate with CSES leaders, NAR and Park, and then we got a grant to start very first SPC model in Japan. And it's working very well. We selected 4 social enterprises in Japan, and they're doing great work. And we would like to expand this model in Japan. And we want to ask participation from the government and businesses. And 2 more things I would like to share is that from now on, to maximize impact and social innovation in a society, key thing is that sharing knowledge for maximize impact. This is a very important thing, and SPC model is truly impactful in this sector too. As you can imagine, impact investment is growing, and impact investment requires measurement, and each investor accumulates impact data. But as of today, it is owned by separate entities. It's not combined. So that we would like to accelerate sharing practices of impact data among various players to inspire early-stage social entrepreneurs and grow their businesses. And lastly, through this process, we want to make East Asia a leading region for innovative problem solving. Through this process, what we learned was that, for example, between Korea and Japan, we have a lot of commonalities. Like we have a similar culture, way of thinking, and similar social issues like low birth rate. While we have some differences in social innovation models. So we can learn each other, and we can apply these things in each countries, and we can make great East Asian region together. So this is what I expect in coming years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes. So it seems this sharing knowledge for measurement and also they learn from each other and on all these systems for appreciating this social value in the kind of corporate activity will be very important. And so then I would like to ask Professor Suzuki about your thoughts on this discussion around this social value creation by the corporations.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your kind introduction. And thank you very much for the organizers for inviting me for this panel. And I'm very honored to be one of the panelists today. Thank you very much for Chairman CHEY for sharing with us your experiment. I'm really impressed that now we talk about social impacts, but he's been doing this for about 10 years, he said. So it was quite impressive. And as an economist, I also fully agree with his idea of transferable tax credit, because by making it transferable, the most cost-efficient ones, who can do better, they will solve the problem, and then those who are not really capable, they can purchase the credit, and so everyone can participate in this market. So I think it's a really good idea. So today I wanted to share with you just two points. One is just all the pictures here. The Collaborative Capitalism initiative led in Japan, and how the university is also contributing to it. And another point is some thoughts on the outcome-based funding. But for the first point, so this initiative is taken by 3 organizations, which are Keizai Doyukai, Japan Association of Corporate Executives, the Impact Startup Association, which is the association of startups, which also aims to achieve high social impacts, and the Shinkoeki Renmei, Japan Association of New Public, which is more association of traditional social sectors like NPOs and NGOs. So last year in 2023, they came together to find ways to solve the social problems effectively, and they launched this initiative called Collaborative Capitalism. And they've been, leading many activities since then. So there has been some collaboration between the private sector and the social sector, but as Chairman CHEY also mentioned, it was more of between CSR division of the company and the social sector. But what is new about this initiative is that the top executives are directly involved with this social sector. So they've been having this multi-sector meetings. I think this year they had twice. One was in this university. One was held at this university, and I think each time about 400 people come together and they talk about social issues, how the companies can be involved. So it's this kind of initiative is happening, and so because we want to create kind of like a new economies, and university can play a big role in nurturing youth. So we are also trying to establish what's called academic alliance for this collaborative capitalism. It's actually the initiative led by President Fuji of our university and President Terumichi of the Sophia University. So we're going to be launching this alliance in February next year. We've been doing some preparatory activities, but we'll be kind of networking, creating a network of universities and sharing information, how we can really start promote the social entrepreneurship within the universities. So yeah, this is the picture, and then the second picture is what we've been doing within the University of Tokyo. So UTokyo, we have lots of entrepreneurial lectures and workshops, but we didn't have the lectures particularly focused on social startups. So the last 2-3 years, we've been discussing how we can promote, and then we've been launching some of the workshops, particularly on social entrepreneurship. And it's been quite impressive. I mean, there's a lot of demands from students, and they come from all different backgrounds, engineers, sociologists, even from the medical department, and also a lot of women, actually. So yeah, we are pretty optimistic about, this. So second point I wanted to mention was on the outcome-based funding. I'm a development economist, so in the development fields, we have similar financing mechanisms such as performance-based payment, or like even cash transfers. We have conditional cash transfer, which is linked to the outcome, and then unconditional cash transfer. So yeah, so I think it's a really good mechanism to promote incentives, as Chairman Chey mentioned, and because because without the outcome you don't get the payment, so you have incentives, and the investor don't have to monitor them. So I think it's a really good mechanism. But another thing I wanted to highlight is the uncertainty or the risk involved, because if you think about the success of any kind of projects, a big component is the effort level. You want to make effort to make success. But another component always there is it's actually luck. There's always uncertainty because it's about future. So I think outcome-based funding, it does not reduce this risk. So I think it's a really good way to promote incentives. So that's good, but the risk part, I think, by this mechanism, actually, it will go to the people who are actually trying to solve the problem. Because without the outcome, without a good performance, they don't get the payment. Maybe I'm thinking this because I always work with farmers and vulnerable people and things. But so that part is also very important, and I think so. To make this outcome-based funding more successful, I feel like there should be some other mechanism embedded, maybe like providing more resource or consultation opportunities along the way or something. Because otherwise, I think the really high-risk projects, which is difficult to solve, or the high-risk-averse people tend to be the vulnerable ones, may refrain from going into this opportunity. So that's, I think, the other side of, I think, outcome-based funding. But anyways, we can think of the design, I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So the second point is for the reduction of the risk, and also how to, set up a kind of safety net type of system embedded into this incentive system. So that could be, also the part of the discussion afterwards. So then I would like to ask Mr. Sato about your thoughts. Yes, please. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Chairman. I would like to discuss social sustainability primarily from the perspective of the finance, addressing both the current state of affairs and the future directions. We are currently facing numerous challenges that strengthen social sustainability across a variety of fronts. For instance, this includes issues such as global environmental problems, uneven population distribution, and the widening gap between the rich and the poor. Let me show the chart one. It shows the environmental doomsday clock to illustrate the intensifying global environmental problems. Chapter 2. This shows the uneven population distribution, showing how population decline, and growth are occurring simultaneously, with each pressing distinct and significant social challenges. So as you see on that chart, and the developing countries, they are facing the aging population and labor shortage. But on the other side, the developing countries are now facing food shortage and the normalization of poverty. And in between the developing country and I think better companies, there are significant another issue, which is the immigrant issues. Those huge issues in our society. And chart 3 highlights the widening the gap in both income and wealth. Wealth is becoming increasingly concentrated among the top 1% of household, which is driving further social fragmentations. And it increased a lot. From these various social challenges, today I'd like to focusing on the global environmental problems, as you know. Despite of global effort toward carbon neutrality, global warming is approaching a tipping point. Chart 4. It shows the trend and temperature anomalies and shows no signs of any whole of global warming. Moving forward, a variety of serious global issues, such as expanded large-scale disasters and rising sea levels, will continue to be major obstacles to social sustainability. Additionally, failure to circulate the resources is also a major issue, and the efforts to maximize added value while promoting the efficient and cyclical use of resources toward the establishment of the circular economy has only just begun. Furthermore, the loss of natural ecosystem and biodiversity has reached a critical stage. Initiatives referred to as nature positive, which aim to help these issues, are increasingly being strengthened. So, carbon neutral, circular economy, and nature positive, these three issues are mutually connected and critical issues to be resolved for the sustainable society. Next, I will explain how the financial sector is implementing approaches to address the global environmental problems aforesaid. Currently, the development of new energy sources that do not emit CO2 is making progress as a fundamental way of preventing global warming. As an alternative to fossil fuel, these include, for example, implementing hydrogen energy into society, the development of small module reactors, and nuclear fusion, and so on. In addition, technologies like CCC, carbon dioxide capture and storage for CO2 fixation and storage are also making developmental progress. However, as you know, the development of such cutting-edge technologies requires significant amount of funding. Financial institutions support technological development through corporate lending and equity financing to existing private companies and startups that are engaged in these advancements. Financial institutions also provide risk capital on a project basis in collaboration with governments and venture capital firms. Furthermore, financial institutions support the issuance of various types of bonds as funding tools for projects that contribute to improvement the global environmental, including CO2 emission reduction. This chart shows the trend in structuring and underwriting amounts for sustainable finance arranged by Mizuho Financial Group, including green bonds and other sustainable bonds. The volumes of the bond issuance in sustainable finance has been increasing annually. Recently, due to high awareness among investors, there have been cases where sustainable bonds are issued at lower interest rate than regular corporate bonds from the same companies. Additionally, financial mechanisms are being developed to support societal challenges through different from the fundings, including transition finance, which is a leading approach aimed at providing financial support during the interim period leading up to the achievement of CO2 reduction target, and social impact bonds, which is a financial model that was developed to support projects addressing a broader range of social challenges, such as a solution of poverty, improvement of social infrastructure, and medical support, and so on. So lastly, that's the point I'd like to stress today. I will discuss directions for strengthening further initiative, future initiative. Please take a look at the last chart, chart 6. In order to further enhance effort towards social sustainability, we must recognize that these actions are not merely as acts of charity, but initiatives that contribute to enhancing corporate value. In other words, such corporate activities must not only gain from reputation from society, but must also be valued by business customers, financial institutions, and investors. This recognition must then lead into reduced financing cost, including stock prices and rising corporate market capitalization. Otherwise, there is a risk that these corporate actions themselves may not remain sustainable. In order to achieve this, it is crucial not to rely solely on mindset reform against financial institutions and investors. Instead, there is an urgent need to develop mechanisms that incorporate such corporate activities as intangible assets in the balance sheet or in PL, in corporate accounting. If I can say that, you may say I'm a dreamer, but I'm not only one. In recent years, this issue has been the subject of internal discussion, that's for sure. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much. Yeah, it seems, I mean, you are not the only one, and then I could see that kind of very much coherence with the story about the Chairman Chey gave us, like from the CSR to the incentive system. So it's really a kind of, we could see the kind of I could see that we are looking at the same direction. So is I guess so, Chairman Chey, you have many responses to all these thoughts given by the speakers. Mm-hmm. So that if you have some thoughts or response to all these suggestions and.
Yes, I'd like to show you that another design thinking. So, while everybody perceives global warming is a real problem, and we have to do something about this climate crisis. Climate crisis is it's a little different type of problem compared to the other social the problems. Because it has a time limit. So within a short period of time, so we have to come up with meet a certain goal. Otherwise, if it's more than a 2 degree of the temperature, then it's kind of more disastrous. All the study is there. So if we're targeting really 2 degree of temperature is the target, then we can come out a certain number of the reducing the CO2 emissions. But current system is actually failed to deal with this problem. So we just rely on the people's goodwill or some tax system. So it's a kind of penalty system. So if there is a penalty, then people just tend to avoid or cheating. But if there is some incentive, also there is also cheating mechanism is involved in. But if there's an incentive, there is much more the good outcomes I expect. Then why don't you using this for that incentive system rather than just a punishing system for the CO2 tax? So, these days, we have a lot of technology. Using our technology, I think that we can solve these problems. I believe this is a kind of emergency situation where we need some kind of emergency program. So I'd like to introducing is a environment protection credit system. This is a kind of incentive system. It's same concept of the SPC, but it's only focused on the environmental matter. Well, if you want to focus on the CO2 emission, you could do it. So if it's a CO2 emission, then we just issue that this credit, using the blockchain technology. Too easy to explain, though, give them to some coin. But this coin is actually, we can actually trace all the history, the transactions, contributions, whatever it is. So right now, we don't know who's really contribute how much as a technology, whether your effort, whatever it is. We don't know though how much reduction of this emission. But my assumption is that 10 years later, so we could actually track down that who contribute and what amount of the CO2 emission comes from that the people's or the organization's contribution. Or it could be the technology too. Or the social activity. Even NPO could actually re-educate the peoples and whatever it is. Then we can, if we measure that, and then we can actually focus on in a blockchain technology. 10 years later, then we actually measure who's going to pay what. So then all the government has to actually have some kind of promise. 10 years later, not today's pay, but it's 10 years later, so we have target the reduction amount of the CO2. They each contribute, and we will reward, cash reward for that, whatever the credit, and we're going to give them to it could be the more tax credit. If it's tradable, it's okay. Then what really things is reallocate our resources right now. There is a ESG fund and the impact investment. There is so many other things, but they only chase the world economic financial value. Because we don't really count on the social value mechanism yet. So it's the only measurement is money. So even though I sacrifice the return of the money, but I don't want to losing the principle. That's kind of a bad thing for that. Even Mizuho Bank had that similar problem. So I suggest that if it's a new thing, then money distribution is different. So if I think that that technology is probably had a much better chance, then I will really invest on that technology, because that technology is not probably fail to economics, but also I really think that that technology could contribute to the reduction of the CO2 emission. Then it's a different mechanism, not only just making money in the world. It's different things, but if we really contribute to reducing the CO2 emission, then we could use that. And end of the day, it's 10 years from now. This is a most challengeable thing is that how we can actually persuade all the government to get together in the same program, and they have to commit, and I'm gonna contribute X amount of dollar to 10 years later. But if we had that kind of system, we'll solve this problem. Because we actually induced that a lot of the activity, R&D activity. So that means that actually, we put it in a lot of brain engagement in the certain program. But right now, we don't have that much incentives. To example, the BlackRock actually, in this year, then last year, then they didn't actually talk about ESG anymore. So they changed their policies.
Okay.
So the whole world is failed to actually face these problems. But we have to come up with a redesign for that whole world. That's kind of one example.
Well, yes, thank you so much. So it seems that we run out of time. But if there's a very quick one comment or something from the speakers, I just can take one or yes. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this great opportunity. And one thing coming up in my mind is that I have been in the social innovation sector the last 15 years. And one thing I learned through my experience is that changing society is not just making a new business model or new regulation. Changing society is changing paradigm of people. This is a very important concept, I think. And what I learned today is that, as CHEY said, yes, we are in paradigms that goodwill versus penalty. But outcome-based funding SPC model offers us how incentive works, how business can contribute to society, how measurement is important, and further, in the future, we may trade outcome credit in the future. So this program actually gives us a very important paradigm we may need to have in coming decades. And this is the reason why we are so much excited to have this project together with CSCS and the team members. And we also would like to make new innovation happen in Japan and East Asia together. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Sato, you have quick one. Yes.
Chairman touched about the new technology. So on our society, this time is very unusual stage, and many cutting-edge technologies are coming up, like generative AI, you have mentioned, and fusion, quantum, biochemical, and so on. But we have to understand these technology will give us the significant better side of the society. But simultaneously, it brings the negative impact to our society. So we have to treat well the negative side of the impact from this cutting-edge technology. We need international discussion, and we need some alliance to take care of that. That's the point.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and I think I need to wrap this session up. But in any case, it seems it's so important to have a kind of this kind of global, platform for this kind of discussion. And then it seems also very important to connect all these, or share all these ideas amongst the kind of global players, and then to reach at the kind of common system that we could share. So with that, I'd like to stop here. And so we're so happy to share this wonderful discussion here today with these great speakers in this business leaders session. And thank you so much for staying with us today. Thank you so much. And I'd like to thank all the speakers.
Well, thank you so much for inspiring us with ideas on how the business sector can impact and design our future to solve many issues. Please give them another round of applause.